Hey everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie, how's it going?
Hello. It's going good. We've had yet another wild ass rainstorm,
Right?
another
When they just keep
microburst.
getting these.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Scott
And
was
just
supposed to
rain
umpire
in general
tonight.
is.
Yeah, and got rained out. And well,
Oh no, I bet.
mhm.
Because it's
I,
just dumped
he was
buckets.
right. He was a little bit thrilled because the softball, the college softball World Series final series starts tonight. So
Oh.
he was going to have to watch it later or hear all about it from us. But I also was going to have to miss a good chunk of it to be here on the show, which is fine, except for that they're on a rain delay and haven't even
Oh,
started
it's
yet. So
everywhere.
I'm not going to miss much. Yeah. So apparently, even in Oklahoma, it's raining. Yeah.
Wow. These microbursts we keep getting are weird. We don't usually get a lot of rain, but the last few
No,
summers we've had a lot.
it's like we
And
have developed a monsoon season in June.
yeah, we kind of have.
Hmm.
And our stuff is just not set up for that. Like we're set up for snow, not
Right.
rain.
Yeah.
So all of our like drainage systems and stuff overflow and
I can't handle
yeah.
it. Apparently, it's
Yeah.
raining in Oklahoma City. Yeah, I mean, they've been on a rain delay for well, this game should have started an hour ago, and they just started warming up. So, yeah. Yep,
Wow.
no gin and whiskey tonight.
No, you know what? Iced tea.
Oh,
Just plain old iced tea.
just
Yeah,
Diet Dr. Pepper.
here's the thing. Some of you have seen it. If you haven't, please go watch our first documentary. I think it came off just as good as we were hoping it would.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't normally drink on weekdays, like on days that I have to get up and do something the next day. And I did. And then I was kind of hungover the next morning. And I'm like, what am I doing? We have to record these on weekends. Do this on a Monday night. Have I lost my mind?
Right? Well, I've been sick ever since we did our psychic fair on Sunday. I've just had a
Oh,
cold,
yeah.
just a cold. But I always tell my kids I've got the consumption. And
Mhm.
Scott tried to tell Matea that the reason I had the consumption was all the drinking I did. I'm like, I had 2 shots of gin, man. And I had the consumption a day before that, for God's sake.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jenny,
yes,
yes,
Jenny,
you can.
you can 420 as well.
Mhm,
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are going to start doing those live. So
mhm,
there's not going to be like a set schedule, but when we are doing them, we will schedule it. So, if you have a chance, you can jump in. We're hearing that from everybody that you want to be able to join in. And I think that
mhm.
makes a lot of sense.
We had
So,
considered it. We almost did the first one live, but we went, "It's the first one, maybe we don't," so that we're sure that we know what we're doing and that we, can pull this off. Like,
yeah,
how much alcohol do you bring to the party? You know, so
not that much because
not that
I
much.
still got to speak and also produce this show
Mhm,
behind the scenes, which at times gets a little too
mhm.
brainy for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that right before the show, because I had started drinking a little beforehand just because I didn't know. And a listener had sent me a message and I responded to her. We were talking about a case. And I went back and looked at it later and I misspelled 4 words.
Oh dear. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Get it. I get it now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, we will be doing more of those and we will do them live, so don't you worry.
Yes. But thanks for the feedback on it. We've gotten a lot of
Yes,
really
we
good
appreciate
feedback.
that. And certainly, if you have documentaries that you think would be great for documentaries, send them on
Mhm,
over. Let us know which ones you think we should do.
mhm.
There are so many. And
Oh
honestly,
gosh.
the one that I just that we covered yesterday, the Natalia Grace
Mm,
documentary done on ID should have been a documentary because holy shit, if you haven't watched that, do
mhm.
yourself a favor.
Yeah.
You might only get through the first episode because if you have to listen to Michael Barnett talked for very much longer. You might not. You might need to be
Mhm.
drunk. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a good one. Well, this is our Wednesday night case updates show. And so we'll start with Vallow, which is simply that she has a hearing on the 15th
Mhm.
next week. We will be there, friends, and we will live tweet it, and then we'll come back and do a live stream on it.
Mhm.
This is the hearing around her application for a new trial. We talked about last week what the issues were that were raised by her defense team.
Mhm.
And so this is all going to get its day in court. I'm going to be real curious about
Mhm.
how the prosecution is going to keep from, I don't know, either laughing or swearing. Probably going to do both in my own head.
For sure, yes.
It's going to be really interesting, though.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna hear a lot of 404B.
Oh, yeah. We are going to
It'll
hear
all
a lot
be
of that.
about 404B. Yeah.
404B, but 404B, and didn't we hear tons of that during
Mhm.
the trial itself? Of course, that's the statute that says, you can't
Mhm.
use prior bad acts, blah, blah, blah. Anyway,
Yeah.
they got around
Yeah.
that with the conspiracy and with the common scheme and how
Mhm.
important it was to prove the common scheme from the beginning to the end. And it started in Arizona and then carried over
Mhm.
into Idaho.
Yeah.
Paula says we should do a drunkumentary on hurricanes and drink every time they say storm because it helps forget Chad and his storm. Oh my God, we'd be dead. Dead. Because I don't know if you know this, but we're kind of old and we are
Yeah.
major lightweights. So
Mhm.
it doesn't
Yeah.
take much.
No, it does not.
Well, I had a picture I wanted to share with you today because this scared the bejesus out of me. Um, some of you know I do a little part-time Amazon Flex delivery where I deliver Amazon packages. And I'm out in the country a lot, and I was way out in the country down a dirt road. Then I had to pull down a private driveway dirt road that was like 2 miles long, and I come upon this guy.
Oh.
And from a ways away, thought I was starting to hear the banjos from Deliverance. I mean, it scared the shit out of me.
What
It
the
looked like a
hell
real
is that?
person
Is
until
it
because it was kind of in shadow when I was driving up to it from trees and
Yeah.
it's some kind of weird carved wood statue. I don't know. This property is an absolutely gorgeous place where it's a bird reserve. That these people have basically built their own, like their house is there, but their property
Mhm.
they've turned into a bird reserve.
Uh-huh.
And it is absolutely gorgeous out there, but it's very quiet. You're down this long driveway. I
Mhm.
have no idea who's at the other end of it. And then I'm driving down it and I see this creepy ass thing coming up on me, Oh, it was a stunner. Yeah.
That is
It can get a
wild.
little spooky way out in the country sometimes. And that
Mhm.
one really got me today.
I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, other than that,
It
I'm
reminds me
good.
a little of an incident our grandma had. We've talked about our grandma
Yeah.
before. But our mom's mom was the sassiest, spunkiest, most unpredictable lady that she ever saw, and was
Mhm.
hilarious to be around, but you never knew quite what was gonna go on. And
Right.
she was diabetic and her eyesight had been really affected, but she was still driving, by God. And one day she drove up to the Hostess store and was sitting in her car, and there was a woman inside standing at the window staring at her. And she stood there and stared her down. And she was sitting in her car getting madder and madder, like, what the hell is this lady's problem? She was so pissed off, she finally hopped out of her car and marched in there to give this lady a piece of her mind and got right up to her and realized it was a mannequin.
I'm glad I'm not the only one in the family. But yeah, that was hilarious.
It's a familial
Oh my
thing.
goodness.
Who knew?
Right? Who did know? The Casey Anthony doc and drink every time she lies. Oh, we would
Mm,
definitely be dead.
mhm, that for
Dead,
sure.
dead, for
Yes.
sure. All right. Well, let's kick this off with some pretty interesting stuff going on in Kohberger. This is the Idaho 4 case.
Yeah.
So his attorneys have filed to keep cameras out of the courtroom during his trial. I don't think that we're like super surprised by that, but I want to share because it turns out it's all our fault. It's all our fault.
Oh.
Yeah. So here are the issues they're bringing forward. This court should
Mhm.
limit media coverage in this case, to protect Sixth Amendment interests. This court should not permit the media to use cameras to permit unfairly prejudicial coverage of Mr. Kohberger or harass courtroom participants. This court should not permit cameras in the courtroom to distract courtroom participants from the real purpose we are here. That was very poorly written. That sentence doesn't make any sense. Okay, anyway, Grammarly. Let me read for you. This is funny how this is all laid out. Facts. Mr. Kohberger's charge and subsequent courtroom proceedings have captured the attention of local and national news organizations, as well as social media platforms. The court has previously permitted cameras in the courtroom in regards to this case's prior proceedings. However, given the sensationalized nature of the case, the audio/visual coverage has become material for news outlets and social media accounts to espouse their unfounded opinions. Following
Oh.
Kohberger's court
How
appearances,
dare people have opinions?
how dare people have opinions? I mean, just don't kill anybody, and then this doesn't happen, right?
Oh.
Following each of Mr. Kohberger's court appearances, numerous social media posts have been made regarding him through Facebook posts, YouTube, and TikTok videos, and a podcast. A podcast. It's a lot more than a podcast, but whatever.
Are they talking about us? They're talking about
I
us,
don't
aren't
know.
they? Are they talking about
I think
us?
no. They're mad at Nancy Grace
Oh,
mostly,
well.
but who isn't? She
Who's
did
not
some
mad at
pretty
Nancy Grace?
gross shit
Yeah.
around this case particularly. But
Yeah, she did.
each video attempts to analyze Mr. Kohberger's demeanor by observing his body language from one court appearance and describing him using phrases such as cold iciness. I'm pretty sure everyone who has ever looked at this guy says cold iciness.
And
It
also,
looks like
they
oh,
have the
go ahead.
right to.
Right. Yeah. Who says they can't do that? No one. So they're talking about a podcast called Sidebar, and they're also talking about Nancy Grace. So it's not us directly, but indirectly.
Yeah, what about Banfield? Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Banfield says all the things. Yeah.
It looks like he is just filled with darkness and hate, and he keeps getting creepier among numerous other phrases. Well, yeah. I mean, I think you would have to not be able to see his face to not know those things. I mean, it's not a big surprise. So here's the argument. The court should limit media coverage of this case to protect Sixth Amendment interests. While the media holds the crucial role of informing the public of criminal proceedings, the right only exists to the extent that it does not impede upon the rights of a defendant and is subject to maintaining fairness in the judicial process. A fundamental right of every defendant is the right to a fair trial by an impartial jury, established by the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution. This is what the Constitution says. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Blah, 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 we get it. Public trial. That's all I want to say. Yeah. Let's see. Also, this law was written long before YouTube or podcasts or social media existed. And this is a problem I think that we have in our legal system, is that there are holes when it comes to this kind of stuff.
But honestly, if they could find a jury for Lori Vallow,
right,
surely they can find a jury for Bryan Kohberger.
Well, they're going to have to move it out of Lemhi County. We know they will. Yeah. Or Latah. Maybe
they'll move it to St. Anthony.
They'll put it in Fremont County. Yeah. Oh my God.
Now that would be a twist.
So lucky. That would be a twist. Okay. So, then of course
that would suck, because then we'd have to be there every day.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Well, it's not going to be as long as the Vallow trial.
No, probably
So of
not.
course, then they state their precedent cases, that to preserve his rights, blah blah blah. It also says to preserve a defendant's right, the court must balance the rights of the defendant and the interests of the media. I'm concerned that there's no interests of the public here. In doing so, the court ought to recognize that a First Amendment claim should not impinge upon the most fundamental of all freedoms, the right to a fair trial. Not that we don't want him to get a fair trial. It's not just the media. It is a public trial. It is the people that
Right.
have the right
Yes.
to witness this.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Number 2, the court should not permit the media to use cameras to permit unfairly prejudicial coverage of Mr. Kohberger or harass courtroom participants. Well, yeah, we don't want harassment, but I don't understand. Like, people aren't allowed to form opinions about Kohberger by the way that he behaves. I don't know about that.
Your Honor, they said mean things.
Yeah.
Well,
They
yeah,
said
bitch,
he's
of course we
creepy
did.
because he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
When cameras are present in the courtroom, the defendant becomes subject to minute scrutiny as his or her every movement can be replayed and analyzed, which is true. And here we
That's
go.
true, but the judge can always decide where the cameras are.
Right. It doesn't mean that
And
the camera just sits on
right.
him the whole time.
Of course.
As such, the court in Daybell Vallow held, of course, we knew this was going to come up, that video footage from a hearing displayed an inordinate focus on the defendant, zooming onto her face throughout the vast majority of the hearing, regardless of who was speaking or what was happening. Well, that happened once, and the judge actually did allow that camera placement. So,
Mm-hmm.
but the camera placement can also be adjusted. So it's not just that.
Mm-hmm.
In the present case, Mr. Kohberger's actions are heavily scrutinized as self-proclaimed experts utilize audio-visual footage from the courtroom proceedings to make assumptions regarding his body language and character, which actualizes prior court's concerns regarding the presence of cameras in the courtroom. Because, of course, the jury should not be judging him based on his character or what he looks like. That's really big. That was important in Vallow.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, a YouTube video titled Psychologist Breaks Down Bryan Kohberger's Arraignment Body Language purports to dissect every gesture, every shift in posture, every flicker of emotion that crossed Kohberger's face during this tense courtroom scene, while utilizing only one courtroom video.
Mm-hmm.
Like Vallow Daybell, the purpose of the footage is to scrutinize Mr. Kohberger's actions. In Vallow Daybell, the court determined that the footage during a hearing demonstrated an inordinate focus on the defendant. That happened once, and it was the judge's fault.
Yeah.
Here, the court need not determine the purpose of a video utilizing audio-visual recordings, as the purpose of the commentator's purpose is explicitly clear. This is not very well written.
No, it's
And
not.
such a video, yeah, some of it really is a little word salady. And such a video would not exist except for the presence of cameras in the courtroom. Furthermore, the video posted on May 23rd garnered over 44,000 views in 2 days, further demonstrating the high level of interest in the case and potential impact of pretrial publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, an article published by the New York Post relied on audio-visual recordings to analyze Mr. Kohberger's body language. The article states that by dissecting his most minute behaviors, from the use of his tongue to his controlled reactions and the tone of his voice, can paint a picture of his mindset. By doing so, the recordings are once again being utilized to scrutinize Mr. Kohberger, as the expert reached an uncorroborated conclusion after viewing only one video. Well, so give us some more videos. I mean, some of this is like, okay.
There's the solution.
So despite the apparent popularity of articles and videos claiming to explain body language, which there are quite a few out there that are doing this, many such claims are not supported by scientific evidence or previous articles, as previous articles are not cited by the self-appointed body language experts in videos concerning Mr. Kohberger. Explain. What? Oh, damn.
Now
Somebody's got to work on this.
Did Mark Means write this?
Right. In fact, studies have
How
repeatedly
many
shown that
air
body
quotes are
language.
there?
There are not very many, but there are a lot of sentences that don't make full sense. That's concerning. Studies have repeatedly shown that body language cannot actually accurately be read like a book, which is true. And you have to be careful, because if Kohberger is on the, neurodivergent spectrum, which I kind of suspect he is, then the body language doesn't mean the same things. And it is something you have to be careful of, for sure.
True.
But it's
But
certainly
people still
not.
have the right to put an opinion on the internet.
Well, they do. I mean, that is life.
Yeah.
So, but they do say that you can't infer a person's thoughts or intentions based on their nonverbal behavior alone, which is true. But they're taking this, I think, to the farthest extreme they can, which is, of course, what defense attorneys do.
Yeah.
Along with making claims about Mr. Kohberger based on body language, social media videos also utilize the audiovisual footage from courtroom proceedings to make comments regarding Mr. Kohberger's character. The videos use phrases such as cold iciness, and if you have never seen evil before, this is what it looks like when you're in the presence of a demon. Okay. Someone else characterized him as remorseless and without a conscience. I mean, we've all kind of felt that looking at him.
Yeah.
And looking
And
at
again,
his very dead eyes.
people get to say what they want to say.
Right. Well, and the jury's going to have to make their own determination, but they're going to see that lack of spark in his eyes.
For sure.
To decide the case fairly is influenced by the tone and extent of the publicity. Okay, so, that's what they're saying. Then they're also saying that it could be a distraction to courtroom participants from the real purpose we are here. From the real purpose we are here. Yes, this is really poorly written. Once courtroom participants know they are being recorded, they may behave differently. The court in Estes held that a case is steeped in pretrial publicity. Televised jurors cannot help but feel the pressure of knowing that friends and neighbors have their eyes upon them. Even in the Vallow trial, the jurors were never filmed. We never saw them.
No, of course not.
Right.
Again, most of this could be solved by camera positioning.
Camera placement.
That is up to the judge to determine. So,
right.
Or to approve at least. So,
right. The court further elaborated on how, what?
Victoria said, did Chat GPT write this?
Right. I'm starting to wonder, because I'm a little concerned about some of the languaging. The court further elaborated on how the presence of recording equipment may not be the distraction, but more so the awareness of being recorded. Except that they're not going to record the jury. Jesus. The court even goes so far as to say not only will a juror's eyes be fixed on the camera, but also his mind will be preoccupied with the telecasting rather than the testimony. Okay, well, that's just conjecture.
And also his?
Yeah, what's his thing? They're going to be a lot of women on this.
What year do you think this is? Yeah.
Yeah. Following similar reasoning, the court in Daybell Vallow also expressed concern regarding the additional pressure witnesses and counsel may be exposed to, knowing their every expression, utterance, and appearance will be captured and circulated without their control. The court also notes that the pressure placed on witnesses may unduly influence jurors as they make an incorrect determination regarding the witness while he or she is under the additional pressure of being recorded. But wait, you're not allowed to use body language. They already said. So anyway, this is basically the vein they're going in, that this is why there shouldn't be, that the trial shouldn't be televised. The conclusion, the courtroom has a duty to, I think it's the court, has a duty to preserve a defendant's right to a fair trial and ought to mitigate the prejudicial effects of trial publicity by exercising discretion to exclude video recordings from the courtroom. So that should be the court, because the courtroom can't actually protect the defendant's rights. Thus, the court should exclude cameras from future courtroom proceedings to protect the integrity of the judicial process. So, that's the filing. We shall see. I mean, this judge has been pretty willing to shut everything down. So I've been expecting that this was coming. Judge, yes.
Judge.
I mean, what the irony of that is hilarious, but Um, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this goes through.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet it does.
I think that they've been setting up for it all along, unfortunately.
What
So we'll see.
why not exclude cameras until the trial? Once the jury is
Mhm.
sat, why? Why?
Right.
What the hell would it matter at that point? Most of this argument is completely moot at
I
trial.
know. At trial, it really is. And it's taking everything to the most extreme. And and
Mhm.
it keeps referencing Vallow Daybell, but it's referencing one hearing that God damn you court TV did
Mhm.
that really made things shitty for everybody.
Mhm.
And that the judge approved the camera placement and clearly did not think about it. And so it was just, on Lori the entire time.
Mhm.
But right, justice in the dark again, says Cranky. I agree.
Mhm.
There's got to be a balance
Mhm.
because the Sixth Amendment was written at a time when none of this was ever even considered to
Right.
be a possibility. We've got to look at how do we
Mhm.
handle these things with our current technology because the public, not just the media, but the public has the right to know. These are public trials.
Yep. They
So,
literally belong to the public.
right. I
So
mean, who pays for them? These are Idaho trials. You know who pays for them? We do. Our friggin' taxes do.
we just keep paying for them.
Right.
Lori, Chad,
Right.
douche.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So we'll see. But I mean,
that's
I
wild.
expect that the judge is going to grant this.
Oh, I'd be very surprised if they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, considering what they've already done so far. But it's just unfortunate. It is very unfortunate because they're
Mhm.
still going to have to pick an impartial jury, and people are still going to talk about this case and talk about Bryan Kohberger, whether they allow the um, cameras in the courtroom or not.
Certainly.
This
Yeah.
case has, garnered international coverage, just like Daybell Vallow has.
Mhm.
That's not going to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, I wanted to say hello to Marcus. First time liver,
Oh, welcome, welcome.
but is a listener from Australia that followed all of our Daybell Vallow stuff. So anyway,
Oh,
just wanted to say hi
so
and
nice
welcome
to
to
have you here,
Marcus.
Marcus. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we'll keep you posted on what goes on with that.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, Katie, what's going on in the Murdaugh case? Murdoch. Sorry, I always forget to say it the other way. Murdoch case right now.
Well, some douchiness. So there's some real push and pull going on between Alec Murdaugh's attorneys and the attorneys that are representing the Satterfield family. When we talked about this a little bit last week, that basically Murdoch is now saying that what he said about what happened to Gloria, that the dogs tripped her and she fell and died, right? Fell down the stairs. That
Right.
wasn't true and he just made that up so that they'd be able to make an insurance claim. That she wasn't even working when she was killed. Died, whatever. Oh, but first of all, she worked for you, and if she was at your house, I'm going to assume she was working. I think that
Right.
argument is really stupid. But
Yeah.
basically, it looked a lot like them trying to screw the Satterfield boys over. That because he still owes them $4.5 million from all that money he stole from them, and he's supposed to be paying it back now. And his attorneys are really scrambling because the well's about to run dry.
Hmm.
And why it wasn't already dry, he owes everybody. He owes many millions of dollars. How dare he get to use that money for a defense? How dare?
Right.
But
Right.
anyway, so basically, they tried to pull this bullshit deal to say, well, we lied about that. So sorry, insurance. But yeah, you definitely don't. w- We shouldn't have to. That money should just be reverted back to you. It shouldn't go to the Satterfields because it was a lie in the first place.
Mm.
So, of course, the Satterfields and the Satterfields attorney, Eric Bland, he picked up with them because of the coverage of the Murdaugh case, of the
Hmm.
trial. And he, by the way, is fabulous. And
Right.
He has really stepped in, he and his team, and been like, yeah, we're not doing this. So basically, he's going up against Decarputlian and company. And
Hmm.
what he's calling for is sanctions against them. He would like sanctions against these attorneys because basically he's saying that all they're doing right now is trying to take a stab at these kids and waste the court's time because this is absolutely ridiculous. One
Right.
thing he said is that whether Alex says he lied or didn't lie or whatever doesn't really mean anything in because this was already investigated and educated by the insurance company. There's no going back on that now just because he's claiming he lied. He's just
Right.
re-victimizing the Satterfield boys and trying to muddy
But
the waters, and they're
it's
just being
so
dicks,
gross.
essentially. So he's
Yeah.
asking for sanctions against them to make them knock this shit off.
Right? Why do they get to re-victimize his victims? It's so
Right.
gross.
Hmm. Yeah. These boys who were getting evicted from their single wide trailer when all this shit
Yeah.
was going down, when their
Yeah.
mother died, and they didn't get their money and all of those things. Like, my God, absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what's up.
I mean, would it be like sort of the best karma ever that Alec Murdoch would have to declare himself indigent and get
Mhm.
public defenders because
I
he
think he's
doesn't
on
have
his
any?
way. Yeah.
I think that would be absolutely fantastic, frankly.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. And I think he's on his way to that. He still has over 125 lawsuits to defend or charges to defend.
I mean, is he even
125.
going to live long enough for all of these trials?
Well, he's
Mm,
not, his money's not going to hold out that long. That's for sure. But these are the same assholes who were staying in a wedding venue,
yes.
having every need catered to them during his trial, that was running them somewhere around the tune of $20,000 a week during his trial. And
Yeah.
that was cool to do and to spend. But suddenly now,
Well,
they don't
now
want to
that
have to
his
pay his debt. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got yourselves into this mess by taking his case.
Hmm.
I mean, what did you think was going to happen with all the financial crimes that he has committed? His money is going to disappear. He has so many victims
Yeah.
who should get something for what
Yeah.
he's done to them?
I just don't feel like he should get to spend any of that money on attorneys. Any of it.
Right.
But what do I know? I guess.
Right.
But anyway, that's
So,
what's up.
Jenny, with him, I don't think that the kids knew, I don't know that any of what he's saying now is true about like that it wasn't a legit lawsuit from the beginning.
Right.
As far as
Hmm.
they knew, it was.
Hmm.
He was helping them sue his insurance company to
Hmm.
benefit, because they lost their mother, they lost everything, and they have
Hmm.
a lot of challenges themselves. I don't think they knew that, but apparently Murdoch is saying that, which
Hmm.
who the hell knows what happened? Did he shove her down those stairs? I mean.
Well, right. Right. What actually happened there? If you were lying, it reminds me a lot of the trial when he was like, okay, so here's the deal. I lied about everything. So here's the truth.
Yeah. Like,
And people
okay,
are like,
bye-bye. Slam the cell door.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
not listening to this bullshit.
yeah.
Lindsay, question: we have the Wagner trial in my neck of the woods early
Ooh,
next year. Should we see things happening on it to get ready for trial soon? Yes, and there actually have been some things happening on it. I've seen some updates. It's a lot of just procedural stuff, so we haven't really talked about it. We have talked about some of the Wagner stuff.
mhm,
There's so much of it. It's just
mm,
crazy. But I think this is George Wagner Sr.'s trial, correct?
I
And
believe
yeah,
it is.
it's
Yeah.
coming at the beginning of the year. And so we are keeping an eye on that. We'll do an update on it for next week. I'll go check it out and
Hmm.
see where things stand. I know that there have been some things filed. But yeah, we'll get caught back up on that
Yeah.
because I know that is a really big one, for people who live in that area. This is a
Hmm.
huge case and it's the final trial.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
And
will,
also, speaking of King Douche, why has he not pled? Why?
right.
The fact
Why
that
is
he's gonna
he
put your community through another trial.
right? It's been so traumatic for people to have to go through these trials.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
no, Jenny, they did not know. He's saying now he lied then. Alex is saying that, but no,
Mhm.
they did not know.
So
The
what
boys did not
happened
know.
is after their mom died, and the boys were very young, and I don't know if you saw them in the Alec Murdoch trial, but the one that testified, but uh, they're not Mensa material. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, they're maybe kind of slow. I mean, they're just these kids are doing the best they can. You know,
Yeah,
but they're easy to take advantage of. Let's say it that way. That's fair.
yeah,
But what happened is when she died, he told them, "This is my friend who's an attorney." And remember, Alex is an attorney. They trusted him, and he said, "This is my friend who's an attorney. He's going to help you to file a claim against me so that you can sue my insurance and receive a payout because your mother was, died here while she was working." And so that's what they did. They didn't break the law in any way. They just, or they didn't know that they did. They didn't think they did,
no,
and they were instructed by him, who they trusted, that this was the process. And so his friend, who's an attorney, helped them, who got them a good sized settlement. But the way they structured it and how they pulled this stuff off, rather than that check go directly to them, it went to Murdoch.
yeah,
And so he cashed it and gave them a little bit of money, but not nearly all
yeah,
of the money, and lied
not
to
even
them about how much
close.
they got.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's
so
that's
gross.
what this is about. Does that make sense? Did that help clear that up?
Yeah, I think it did. Well, and I mean, just this whole time they have been victims of his crap.
Mhm. One other
Yeah.
trial we didn't have on our list tonight, but we should have. I forgot about is Adam Montgomery.
Oh, I've got it.
Oh, you do have Adam. Never mind. Okay.
That was the next thing I was going to talk about. Is that everything in Murdoch?
Well, that's everything in Murdoch. Yeah.
Okay. So, Adam Montgomery,
Yeah.
Harmony Montgomery's father,
Hmm.
he is on trial right now, not for her murder, but
Not yet.
by God, this better be happening soon. He's on
Hmm.
trial for a bunch of weapons charges.
Hmm.
So, he's charged with 2 counts of being an armed career criminal, 2 counts of receiving stolen property and theft. Oh, and theft by unauthorized taking. Now we also know he's charged with killing Harmony, but that's going to be a different trial, hopefully
Yeah.
a soon one.
Yes.
Um, oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's Harmony's birthday.
It is today.
Harmony would be 10 today. Yeah.
Oh, poor little
Yeah.
Harmony. She breaks my heart.
Hmm.
Those little pictures of her with her glasses. She was the cutest
I
little thing.
know. Darling.
So, Adam's estranged wife, Kayla Montgomery, testified um, against him on Monday, that he had told her that he had stolen these guns.
Hmm.
This is about a stolen shotgun and a rifle. She also admitted to the jury that her memory is fuzzy because of the drugs that she was doing at the time.
Hmm.
But that she testified that she and Adam did go over to visit the Frains. Chris Frain is who owned the guns,
Hmm.
not long before the guns were stolen.
Yeah.
And that Kim Frain actually called her freaking out because the guns were missing.
Yeah.
And then she saw the guns in her own home and then saw Adam trying to sell them.
Wow.
Yeah. He's also being charged with being a felon and possessing a
Hmm.
weapon. Um, and they had a big fight about it one time because he was trying to leave the house with one of the guns. And she was worried about it, thinking he was going to be arrested because he's a felon. He's not supposed to
Hmm.
have guns and they're stolen. Um,
Yeah.
she was really worried about them getting in trouble.
Sure.
Um, so Kayla has already pled guilty to perjury in this case as part of her plea bargain, um, was to testify against Adam,
Hmm.
and her charges have been dropped in relation to the guns in exchange for her
Yeah.
testifying. Now, I believe that the jury was given their instructions today on this.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yep.
the jury's got it. So we're going to see, um, what happens with this.
Mhm.
I mean, all of this with Harmony's case has taken so long.
Oh, God.
It
Here's
just makes me
Harmony.
sick. Just the cutest little kid
Mhm.
did not deserve what she got at all. It's just disgusting.
No. I just wish Kayla could cough up her location. I really am starting to think she just doesn't know.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking at this point she must not.
Did you guys see Kayla, by the way, in court? Wow. Really different when she's not strung out.
Yeah, she looks a lot better.
A lot better because she's been in jail for a while now, too, and will be for a while.
Right.
But it
Well,
just made me sad for her. Her life has been a mess.
it has and gotten mixed up with this jackass.
Hmm.
Samantha says, "Do you think Kayla knows more than she's said?" Well, we're quite sure that Kayla has testified at the grand jury that indicted Adam in Harmony's murder. So likely she has already shared things that we don't know yet because the grand jury stuff is sealed, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when the trial comes around, I think we will learn that yes, she did know quite a few things that she shared with the
Hmm.
police.
Yes, but what we think she really doesn't know is where Kayla or where Harmony is, where Harmony's body is.
I know. Yeah,
Uh,
I think at this point, if she knew, she would have given that up.
I believe so. I believe so.
Makes me
She's
really
given up
sad.
everything else, but she has not. Well, yeah, and then but also she knew all this time. She's a mom. She could have come clean before it saved her ass, you know.
Yeah, she could have. I
But
mean, I
but look
don't.
at her in court, you guys.
Yeah,
That is
she
like a
looks.
different person.
It is. She looks a hell of a lot better than she has.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
huge difference. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So we're keeping a very close eye on that. We've been covering Harmony from the very beginning. That was the year of the 4-year-olds that all went
Yep.
missing at about the same time
Mhm.
in suspicious circumstances where it turned out that none of them had been reported at the time that they went missing. Like it was all parent involvement stuff. There was a
Yep.
bunch of it.
Yep.
So we will continue to keep our eyes squarely on that.
Mhm.
Katie, talk to us about the Dylan Rounds case. What's going on with James Brenner?
So James was finally in court. So one thing we learned from court this week is that one of the reasons this has all taken such an insanely long time is because James Brenner is in federal custody
Yeah.
on weapons charges. So everything the local municipality wants to do, they have to get permission from the federal government. And it takes about 6 weeks to get that permission to even then schedule something. So it's taking forever because these two agencies or municipalities are working on separate cases that both have to do with him. And so it has just really created a lot of headache, and trouble. So he was in court. It was a 9-minute hearing. It was very brief. He limped into the courtroom. The Rounds family say that is an absolute act.
Mm,
He's not limping at all, but he did that just to try to get some kind of
sympathy.
sympathy or something. So we
Fuck
won't.
that, dude. Where is his body? Where is
Yeah.
Dylan Rounds?
Where is Dylan's body? That's the big question right now. One thing they asked for in court is a second attorney. He already has a defense. He's on a public defender now. They have requested a second attorney, some co-counsel to assist the defense. They also threw around the death penalty. They've not said that they're seeking the death penalty yet, but it's possible that they will. So we don't know yet if that's going to be on the table or not. But by
Mm,
the way, they are asking for co-counsel and had talked death penalty ish. And then there was a brief that was filed that also kind of led that direction. Makes you think that they suspect that the prosecution is going to be seeking the death penalty, which to
mm-hmm.
me really makes me wonder what the hell kind of evidence have they got?
Well, there's that video that
That
was
video
on
is
Dylan's
huge.
phone
Hmm.
that they found when they found his phone in the pond. What the
Hmm.
hell does that video show?
Absolutely.
I'm
Very
thinking
interesting.
I mean, I know there's the boots and, there's a few things, but I think that is probably the smoking gun.
Mhm. You're probably right on that. So it's going to take 6 weeks for them to schedule the next thing to decide if there is going to be a preliminary hearing.
Mm,
If there's a preliminary hearing, we'll learn quite a bit about what evidence they have. If
you
there's
will.
not, we're going to stay in the dark.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That'll be interesting. So sometime around the end of July, there'll be another hearing and we'll learn a little bit more. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. It wasn't a lot.
No, but at least it's movement forward for
Yeah.
at least for Dylan's family. My God, they've been through so much and they still don't have a
Hmm.
body. Just they've really
Yeah.
been through a lot. If you don't know,
Hmm.
Dylan Rounds is actually from our area. I
Hmm.
spoke to his mom right after he went missing, and he went missing in Utah, but he's actually from Yukon, Idaho, which is just a little town between the towns where Katie and I live. So
Yeah.
this one's
Yeah.
pretty close to our hearts, and we've been keeping a close eye on it. Some of you may not even know this case because it's not hit national news a whole lot, but
No, it
we
hasn't.
definitely try to keep it alive as much as possible.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we want to
Yeah,
see this one through and really want to see some justice for this family. Yeah.
yeah, we surely do. Kung Fu Panda says the 2020 shutdown left many abused children trapped at home all day with their abusers, and it's very true.
Hmm.
There was such a
And
spate
domestic
of
violence too. Yeah.
yes, there's a real spate of kids being reported missing who'd already been missing for months during
Yep.
that time period. Just horrifying.
Yep.
Horrifying. Okay. Good news, bad news. I don't know. Joran Vandersloot, remember him? He's the jackass who is a prime suspect in the Natalie Holloway disappearance.
That
He
got his
got
ass
beat.
kicked in jail last
He
week.
got beat up in jail. It's real sad. Well, he is being transported by an FBI plane from Peru back to the U.S.
Hmm.
So that we can charge his, so that we can try his ass. So
Yep. Yeah, the Natalie Holloway. Yep.
yeah, Natalie
Natalie
Holloway
Holloway
disappearance.
case.
So
Yep.
he's already in prison in Peru for another murder that happened
Hmm.
actually after Natalie Holloway.
Yep.
Um, but we're really hoping that maybe Natalie Holloway's family will get some closure here too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, and it it seemed like maybe that the fight that he got in and getting beat up in jail may have been an attempt to malinger to not have to get on that plane and head this way, but here he is. So
Yeah, I
top of the
know.
FOS list, Joran.
I'm real glad it didn't work.
Yeah.
Speaking of top of the FOS list, which if you haven't heard this before, that's our fight on site list. It's
Hmm.
sort of a nebulous pretend list we have out there in the world that we are putting people on all the time. Let's talk about Casey White.
Let's do. Why is it taking so long to get him to the US? Extradition takes around 2 years.
Yeah, it's a big deal,
Yep.
especially from country to country.
Hmm. Yep. Oh, KCF White. This motherfucker, he is just constantly full of bullshit.
Hmm.
He did a phone interview with Brian Enton from News Nation
Yeah.
and confessed to him that he murdered someone while he was on the run, murdered a woman while he was on the run.
With
Yeah.
her?
Mhm.
While he was with her,
Mhm.
he murdered somebody else too?
Yeah, well, that's what he says. That's what he says, but
What's her first name? Her last name's White too, but
Vicky.
Vicky.
Yeah, he
What the
claims while he
hell?
and Vicky were on the run and holed up in that hotel that he murdered somebody else.
Oh my God.
Uh the prosecution says that is utter bullshit. The police say it is utter bullshit. His attorneys say it's utter bullshit. He has done this before.
Hmm.
He's confessed to multiple things that he didn't actually do, and they think this is just an attempt to malinger and to just muddy the waters of what's happening with him right now, or maybe to get him transferred back to where he was there. Is he trying to sniff out a brand new Vicky White? You know, he's
Oh
he's up
God.
to something. But basically, there's really nobody's taking it very seriously. Also, there are no missing people reported First he said a woman and a baby girl. And
Oh.
then he said a woman, and he said a woman that he'd buried, and then he said a woman that wasn't buried. Like, it was a very sketchy story in the first place. But
Mm-hmm.
at any rate, basically everyone's going, nah, didn't happen. Uh, the police in Evansville, where they were, saying there are no missing women from here. So we don't know who that would be or what he's talking about. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
they think this is just an attempt to stall. But
Mm.
yeah,
What a jackass.
F you, Casey.
Right?
So
God.
uh, his charges, yeah, he's going to be sentenced tomorrow. But his charges for Vicky were dropped when he was charged with murder in connection to her death. That was
Mm-hmm.
dropped because he agreed to plead guilty to first degree escape. So that's what the charges are, and he's going to be sentenced on that tomorrow.
How is that comparable to the murder of the woman who busted him out of jail?
Well, she killed herself,
Well, yeah, but I
but
mean,
I agree. I agree, but
felony, a death during the commission of a felony. I don't know.
right. Right.
I don't
I
know.
think they're just
Maybe
sick
it's
of his
fine.
shit and
Whatever.
ready to just put him back in prison. He still has
Hmm.
other charges that aren't satisfied, and I don't know. My gosh,
It
what a
is
mess.
definitely like a what do you charge him with? So
Yeah.
that does make sense. So
Yeah.
okay, well, as long as he just can never get out of prison, and
Yeah.
also doesn't get any phone calls. Let's just
Mhm.
no fucking phone calls for this idiot.
No. No more. Yep. Mhm. Yep.
Right, Jenny. See, I've always had real questions about this whole thing. Jenny says,
Yeah.
listen to the 911 call before they caught him. She says something like, we're going to crash and die. Slow down, Casey. Then she shoots
Mhm.
herself. Then why would she be worrying about dying right before? Right?
It's a good
It was
question.
so chaotic.
Mhm. It's law
I don't
enforcement that
know.
says that she shot herself, but it happened seconds before they got to the car.
Right.
So,
So did she pull the trigger? Did he? I don't know.
who knows?
I don't know. That was such a horribly
But it's a good
ill-fated and
point.
sad situation.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Awful. Yeah.
But yeah, we want him to go away. We don't want to ever have to hear any of his dumbass stories again.
Mm-mm.
And speaking of jackasses that we have to hear their stories again, let's talk about Jesse McFadden.
Mm.
So we have not actually covered Jesse McFadden the case because this all happened during the Vallow trial.
Mm.
So you probably know he's the sex offender who shot and killed his wife and children and two teenage girls from their community, and himself.
It was in Oklahoma, yeah.
It was in Oklahoma. Yeah. So some of the autopsy information has come out. I'm going to say trigger warning on this, although I'm not going to say anything very
Yeah.
detailed at all. But the pathologists have reported that the teenage girls that were there for a sleepover had blunt force injuries to their genital areas and had most definitely been pretty extremely sexually assaulted prior to the murders.
Oh.
And I think that was pretty much everybody thought that was probably going to be
Assumed
the case
that,
given his
yeah.
history. But I do think, this is just kind of trying to clean up after this disaster.
Yeah.
It's just really sad.
Yeah.
Such a horrible human being.
Yeah.
Yes, still waiting for justice on Summer Wells. Summer Wells is one of the 4-year-olds. She's
Yep.
one of the many on our list. I know.
Mhm.
And it's
Every so
just totally
often, we
stalled
do
now.
another search for Summer to see if there's anything new, and no, there's not.
Yeah, there just
Yep.
isn't. It's awful.
No.
Okay, let's see. Katie. Talk to us about the shooting in Virginia.
Oh gosh,
Ugh.
this one is so awful. So this is a shooting that happened in Richmond just a couple of days ago
Yeah.
in after a graduation. So the graduation was in a theater, and there's a park right across the street. So people were filing out and heading into this park, and somebody fired on this crowd.
Yeah.
So there were two people that were killed. An 18-year-old graduate, Sean Jackson. He had just graduated moments before, and his
Yeah.
36-year-old stepfather, Renzo Smith.
Mm.
There were 5 other people injured. One of them was a little girl who also was associated with that family who got hit by a car in the chaos. People
Yeah.
were
A lot of,
running and yeah, and running for their lives, literally. And this poor little thing ran out in front of a car and was struck. Luckily, her injuries are minor. She's going to be fine, but
mm,
super scary. Initially, they said there were 2 shooters. They actually arrested 2 people and then discovered
yeah.
that they were completely wrong about that it really was just the one shooter. His name is Amari Pollard. He's 19. So he's been arraigned on 2 counts of second-degree murder. He's being held without bail, and there'll be more charges coming, of course. They recovered 5 handguns from the scene, but they think only 2 of them belonged to Amari. And again, this is really, really early, so things
Yeah.
could
It is.
change. But at any rate, so the New York Post, and take it with a grain of salt because it is the New York Post,
Right.
they are reporting that these 2 men had been beefing with each other for about a year.
That was my question was this targeted?
The New York Post says yes. So I'm kind of, again, I always take New York Post with a grain of salt. They're not always wrong, but they're also
It
not
can be
always
a bit
right.
clickbaity.
Yeah. But they claim that sources are telling them that yes, that Amari and Sean knew each other and had known each other for a long time, and that they had had some kind of uh, a beef going on for about a year, and that this was a targeted attack on Sean, and and
Mm.
maybe his stepfather or his stepfather was just there,
Mhm.
So I'm sure that all of that'll roll out eventually, but that's what they're saying. Hey, Fairy, that's what they're saying right now. So we'll find out more about that, I'm sure, as this rolls out.
Yeah.
Uh, he did flee, but he was caught alive and taken into custody. So in mass shootings, we don't get that very often. A lot of times they unalive themselves too, and he didn't. So we
Mhm.
actually will be able to see him, be brought to justice. But that's pretty much it. It really sucks because that school district, that was one of 3 graduations happening that day,
Mm.
and they shut down the 3rd one. They have closed school, and they have canceled all other graduations in the district out of
I
an
mean, how
abundance
can
of
you not?
caution. Yep.
What if there's a copycat or whatever? I mean, that's
Mhm.
just terrifying. But
It
what a
is,
way
but
to
man,
just
that super
fuck these
sucks
poor
for all
kids
those
over.
seniors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awful. So, but
Wow.
that's what we know so far on that one.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I
Yeah.
did want to talk about this case in Florida. This case makes me so fucking sick. So you've probably heard of this situation where AJ Owens was shot and killed. This was in Ocala, Florida. So she went to the house um, of a neighbor who was a well-known Susan Louise Lawrence. She was sort of well known for hassling the neighborhood kids and causing problems and being a real dick in the community.
Mhm.
And she'd kind of run off some kids that had been playing near her house. And AJ's son had left his iPad. And when he went back to get it, this woman had taken it and it wasn't sitting where it was.
Mhm.
So AJ goes to the house to ask her to have it back. She knocks on the door or rings the bell. I'm not sure which it was. And this woman, Lawrence, um, shoots her through the door
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
kills her. She dies. Mother of
Yep.
4. It's just a horrifying situation. Let's see. So this is AJ,
Yeah.
beloved in her community, beloved by her family, her children, just taken way too soon in a
Yeah.
horrendous situation,
What is with these people shooting through their front doors? My
right?
God.
This is Lawrence, the shooter.
Hmm.
She tried to use Florida's stand your ground
Of
law,
course.
that this was
Yeah.
self-defense. I'm sorry, but uh, shooting someone through a door who is unarmed is, oh, I don't know, not stand your ground, because
No.
AJ never stepped onto her like stepped into her door or anything. She never even opened the door. It's just
Right.
horrifying.
When
I
you are
just
safe in your house with the door locked and someone's just knocking on your door, that's not life threatening, for Christ's sake. What are people doing? God, it's so terrible.
yeah, just awful. So we'll keep an eye on that case. So she has now been charged
Hmm.
because the police talked to her and then released her. And of course, everyone is just not okay when that shit
Hmm.
happens, because it feels like maybe they're going to let this old white lady get away with this shit.
Hmm.
Well, then on Tuesday, they did arrest her. So
Yeah.
she is
Yep.
charged with AJ's murder.
Good.
And, from what I can understand from other people in that community, she is just the bane of everyone's existence.
Oh, I
She
can only
never,
imagine.
this is a community where there are a lot of little kids outside playing, and she never quits bitching about the kids, or there's
Yep.
nothing they can do right. She's just a jackass,
Hmm.
and now has taken it to this level. It's
Hmm.
so extreme. This reaction that people are having, this extreme reaction to just shoot and
Yep.
kill somebody because they don't like them, is horrifying,
Yep.
terrifying.
Yep.
But there's probably a lot of racism wrapped up in this. And I mean, was this woman even a rational person to begin with? Like,
Hmm.
there are a lot of questions about her.
Yeah. Definitely not, if you would do that. What
Yeah,
rational person shoots through their front door and mows someone down? She could have had
right,
her children with her, for that
right.
matter.
She didn't even know who she was shooting at, really.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's awful.
Yep.
But yeah, I am very glad that
Yep.
she has been charged, and that we're going to see at least get her off the streets, because she's clearly a risk
Yep. For
to
sure.
everybody around her.
Yeah. So Mary Jo says that the local Richmond News is also saying that they knew each other. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, okay. In the
Yep.
Virginia shooting?
That there had been issues. Yeah. Also had said there was issues for about a year, and that the shooter had gone back to his car and got the gun. Okay. Thank you for that.
So, like,
Definitely.
after the graduation was over.
Hmm. And Jessica wanted to know if there's anything new on Nick Alaverdian.
Oh, yeah.
No, I actually looked today because that final extradition hearing is supposed to be in June, to the best of my
Hmm.
knowledge. It's a little bit hard in, Scotland court for us to know.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have the same access to dockets and things to look up like we do, like at least here in Idaho. But
Yeah.
the best of our knowledge is that by the end of this month, there should be a decision on that and deciding whether England gets him next or Utah gets him next, because he does have some sex
Utah,
offense charges
Utah.
in England now.
Please, Utah. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, Utahs
Although,
are the oldest.
he's got victims in London too. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get that, it'll be good wherever he goes, but
Yeah.
we'd like to see him get some comeuppance in the US for
In the
sure.
US for what he's done here, definitely. But the girl that he raped in England definitely deserves to have
Oh,
justice as well. So
absolutely.
we'll see what happens. But that's what I know about Nick right now. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's what we've got.
I think so.
Yeah. So, we will be back next week with more episodes,
Hmm.
and hopefully we'll get back at the Duggar documentary. Figure out when we're going to do our next drunkumentary for sure.
Yep. We'll
And we'll
get it
be back
scheduled
next
so that you guys
Wednesday.
will have at least some heads up that that's
Yep,
coming.
we
Yeah.
will. Also, I will have an update on the George Wagner Sr. trial for
Hmm.
case updates next week. Thank you for reminding me of that one. It's just dragging out so long, and there's been so many trials to keep track of lately.
Yep.
But
And
that
of
is
course,
what
yeah, a
we
week
know.
from tomorrow, Thursday, the Lori Vallow hearing. So,
Yes, we will be there. We will live tweet and Facebook post it, and we'll
mhm,
do a live stream to tell you about what came of that. I don't know if we're going to get a decision that day. I don't know.
mhm,
This might be one of those written decisions that will come after the fact, but it's going to be really interesting to see how things go. I'm very curious to see Lori's demeanor in court now that she is a convicted murderer. Is the big
yeah,
smile and the tampon curls going to change, or is she going to still try and play that game?
interesting. I'm curious. I'm very curious.
Right.
I would imagine yes. I'll bet
Because
she's
she
still her.
looks rough in her Madison County uh, mugshot, her new one. She
Oh
looks
boy,
really rough. And I'm
really
like,
rough.
is she going to start showing up like that now? Or is she going to really, try to play it up?
Hmm. Thank
Always
you,
curious about
Shelley,
that.
and thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you
And all
all.
of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, whether you're here with us live or you're listening after the fact. We appreciate you all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, follow us if you're listening to us on a podcast platform. If you're listening to us on Apple, please give us a rating.
Hmm.
Also on Spotify. And, Spotify, you can comment on our shows now. And, anywhere that you interact, it helps us to grow. And so we do appreciate that so very much.
Hmm.
And you know it. We are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.